Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel today, and we're back with a bit of a different video for a Monday. So as we predicted on stream last night, the Daily Race C, that is at Kyoto, the really long version in reverse, is a bit of a strange one for strategy. You do not need to change your tires. So basically you have to pit, but you don't have to change your tires. Now you can change tires if you want, but if I'm honest, you will probably lose more time than you'll gain. So, you know, it's probably a good idea to not change them tires. Unless there's cars that are battling around you, then maybe it might be worth a go. But personally, it's better to not change your tires. And we did say this on stream yesterday, thanks to Mehdi, who pointed out that in the World Finals, you didn't have to change your tires. So this is Daily Race C. We're going to go instead with a track guide for this because, like I say, this is a very unused combination. I've never ever done a daily race or a sport mode race at this track. So for myself, again, I'm learning this track as much as everyone else. So I thought, now that I've got a little bit of confidence at the track, I decided to do a lap in the Megane, which is not the best car for time trial. The Mazda Atenza is a lot, probably about 4 attempts quicker than the Megane. The Megane has got potential here. I could definitely go half a second quicker than what I've done on this lap, but I find that the Megane just suits my driving style. The Mazda, for me, has too much understeer. I do not like that. And yeah, the MR characteristics of the Megane is just much better for my driving. So that is a car I decided to use for the time trial. Now, in the race, it's still pretty solid. I think if you can get in the slipstream of some other cars, you're going to be able to hang with them in the Megane. However, it does suffer a bit with that heavy fuel and the extra weight on this car because it does suffer with a bit of a lack of power. So yeah, maybe you might want to try some different cars in the race, but hopefully this track guide will be of benefit to whatever car you use in terms of some brake references. Now the Megane does brake very late, so bear that in mind. In other cars you might have to brake a fraction earlier, sorry, than you do in the Megane. Now Daily Race A is in the Porsche Taycan, I think it is the Turbo 2019 edition at Red Bull Ring Short. We're going to do that on stream. And Daily Race B actually has, apparently, the rolling start has been fixed, kind of. Apparently it starts much further up like they did at Suzuka, so it kind of fixes the issue of the rolling start. So we'll give that a go on stream as well later. So we're going to go into the track guide, a full in-depth track guide here for this combination. Make sure you start very wide going into that final corner because it will give you extra speed down the straight. So what you'll see now is how I start catching up to my Ghost, because I've got that extra speed. And you'll also see it on the Delta as we go over the line. You'll see it'll go blue as we're going a little bit faster. Now into turn 1, we're going to be braking in between the 100 and the 50 board, maybe a little bit closer to the 100 board there. You can see the 50 up there and you can see the braking inputs going in already. Now we're going to downshift into 4th, then into 3rd gear, hold 3rd gear for a bit, and then once we feel we need a bit of extra rotation, down to 2nd gear, and you'll see us putting that throttle back in very briefly in 2nd gear there, and trying to get your left-hand tyre as close to that white line as possible on the curb there. Now early upshift into 3rd gear, carry that speed out of the exit, and then you're going to swing your car back over to the left-hand side. Now you're going to be looking at the 50 board on the left-hand side as we come into this corner. That is your brake reference, braking just short of the 50 board. Now you can brake a little bit later, it's just very risky, so just short of the 50 board. Now you can absolutely send it through the chicane. You can cut off a lot more than I actually thought you could. So your left hand tire wants to be on the right hand side of that of the white line. Actually your right hand tire needs to be on the grass as well, so really carrying the speed over the corner, not dropping below 90 miles per hour through there, and then using the full width of the track as we accelerate out now, and then getting the car back over to the left hand side where we're going to use that 50 board as a brake reference there, braking just before it, or just use the start of the curb as another reference. It's just however you want to use. I use the 50 board, but you can use the start of the curb. Now as we come into this corner, a little downshift into 2nd to get that rotation on the car, and then trying to get that right hand tyre as close to that white line again on next to the curb. Early on the power, squeeze the throttle out there, early upshift to 3rd gear as you're coming out of the corner here. And now you're accelerating flat out all the way on this downhill section. You do not need to brake at all through these corners. Now into this next section, which is a pretty tricky section, you'll see what I do here. As we get our right hand tyre onto the curb there, that is the instant I start getting on the brake. So that as soon as I've got the right hand tyre on the curb, I'm starting to brake. Now downshift to 4th, then to 3rd gear, and as your left hand tyre hits that curb, you're going to try and rotate the car through here. So what you're going to see I do now is down to 2nd gear at this point now, and I'm going to come off the throttle and then gradually put that throttle back on because you want to keep the car as close to this apex as possible. And then as we feel the grip build, early upshift in the 3rd, use the full width of the track. You can actually use a bit of the grass if you want also, and carry as much exit speed out of that corner as possible. Now you're going into this really long right hand corner that it feels like it never ends. So using the full width of the track to get the car rotated into this corner. So you see we go onto the curb and then turn just before the end of that white curb on the left hand side. Now staying in 5th gear, and then we're going to downshift to 4th as we try and get the rotation. You want to get your right hand tyre to almost touch the curb, because if you do briefly touch that curb, it gives you a bit of extra rotation through the corner. And then get that throttle down flat out through here. No need to lift. Use as much of the track on the exit as you need. If you need to use a bit of the curb, use a bit of the curb, and then flat out all the way through here as well. So this is where I give it a little bit of a safety lift though. You'll see as we come through here, I tend to give it a little safety lift just to make sure I don't understeer. So there, a tiny bit of safety lift. You do not need to do that, but it does kind of make sure that you don't run wide. So especially in the race, it could be a good idea to do that. So you see, it just gives us that ability to not run wide there. Now braking for the next corner, just before the start of that curb on the left hand side. You can see the curb there, and we're on the brakes nice and early, down to 3rd gear, and then again through here we're going to briefly go down to 2nd gear just to get a bit of rotation, then back up to 3rd gear just to keep that smooth throttle as we come out of the corner. Now we're going to swing the car back over to the right hand side as quickly as possible, because you want to get the car onto that right hand side to swing it in for this next corner, and you're going to use that Marshall on the right side as a brake reference for this tight left hand corner. So as we come through here, onto the brakes. And now this is a very tricky corner. I stay in 3rd gear, but I actually make a mistake on this lap. Just look how far wide we are from the apex. You could fit a bus through that gap, but one thing I did, I kept the throttle down. Now you would much rather take a tighter apex through there and a smoother exit than what we've done there. We actually lost about a 10th to 10th and a half. You can see with the ghost behind us how much closer it is now. So unfortunately, lost a little bit of time there. However, we do manage to absolutely nail this next corner. So as you're coming through here, chuck the car in just before the end of the curb and try downshift into 4th gear. You see, trying to keep the car as close to this apex as possible and carry as much speed as possible. You can see me messing with the throttle as we go through that corner, briefly coming off of 100% throttle just to help the rotation, and then flat out early upshift into 5th just as we come to the exit of that corner, and then powering your way down this straight. Now this is completely flat out through here. However, again, I go for that little bit of a safety lift. So again, you'll see on the throttle, I come off the throttle every now and then just to give it a bit of a safety rotation through here. So again, a little lift off the throttle just to get the cars as cleanly through this section as possible. Now you can do that completely flat out, but I tend to do that little lift. Now we're going to be braking just short of the 50 board on the left hand side. You're going to see that 50 board braking just short of that, staying in 5th gear, and then we're going to downshift to 4th gear as we get a little bit further into the corner. So staying in 5th, then into 4th, trying to get the right hand tyre to get onto this blue bit of tarmac and try and hug as much as you can into that apex, because the better line you take through it will mean you can get on the throttle nice and early. You can see maximum throttle now, and we don't need to lift. We can stay on that throttle all the way to the exit and then power our way to the finishing line, and we go over the line with a reasonable 2 minutes 26.0. Now like I say, this car will 100% do a 2 minutes 25.5, but it's not the best car for time trial. I'm using it because it suits me. I prefer the way it drives. I do not like 4-wheel drive cars. I cannot get used to them. So let's have a little look at the lap from the chase camera again, showing you where we're using the full width for the track. Again, you'll see left hand tyre onto the curb, full width for the track, and just look how much we take off of that corner, and then carrying the speed all the way through there. It really does emphasize from this view just how much of the corner you can cut off there. And then again through here, that little downshift will really show you that extra bit of rotation that you get with this camera view as well. And that's why we do it. A little downshift rotates the car onto the throttle, carry a bit more speed then. Now into this downhill section, you'll see again, very similar, how we just skim as soon as that right hand tyre's onto the curb, we're on the brakes, and then using that little 2nd gear shift just to rotate the car, and then 50% throttle. Then you feel the grip into 3rd gear, flat out on the exit. Use as much exit speed as you can. Now again through here, you're going to see this corner there's a couple of different lines you can do through here. I opt for the wide, send it in, downshift. Try not to use a brake through these fast corners as well. You do not want to touch the brake. You want to just let the car rotate itself through the corner with a bit of coasting and getting close to that curb. And then again through here, you see my little lift off the throttle because I was a little bit worried with that understeer. So that just gives you the ability. You lose maybe a fraction of a time, but you know, if you're really pushing that time trial, you're probably going to do that completely flat out. And again, you're going to see the drift we do through here where we lose quite a bit of time because we got nowhere near the entry of the apex, and yeah, we ended up drifting through the whole corner. So not ideal, lost probably a 10th at least there, but we got away with it, and then we powered our way up into this really fast right hand corner, which again, you do not want to use a brake. So no braking going in here. It's all about downshifting and rotating and just letting the car coast through the corner, because if you hit the brake, you lose a lot of speed and then you lose momentum, and then you just don't get the lap time out of it. So yeah, try not to touch the brake for them two really fast corners. And then again through here, completely flat out, you'll see them little lifts that we do just to try and help rotate the car and keep the car balanced as well. Sometimes if you go through there flat out, you find the car understeers and you run wide, you get a penalty. So maybe in the race again, the safer way to do that is that little lift, and then through that final corner, getting the car onto the curb and getting the exit speed again, just to protect yourself from the Megane down this straight if you're using it in the race. So hopefully this has helped you out. Hopefully it'll help you find a bit of time in time trial if you want to use this car. Also in the race, you might be someone like myself that likes using a car like this for the race. Hopefully this track guide will help you out in them situations. So do hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you later for a stream and more videos in the future. Thanks again for watching, everyone.